Thank you. And now I'd like to welcome Chairman of the Arlington County Board, Walter Tejada. Thanks for being with us, Walter.
Thanks for inviting me, Mary.
You've been on the Arlington County Board since 2003. You've led lots of initiatives, but particularly in urban planning and community engagement. In fact, you speak around the country on those issues. What are some of your initiatives going to do to help make Arlington a sustainable community?
Sure, no, excellent question. Now, in Arlington, we like to think that sustainability is part of our culture in many areas, whether it's energy, whether it's housing, whether it's connecting to fitness, promoting our culture of fitness here. So this year we're working on several things that are really important in that angle. Affordable housing is an important angle, and for all of us in the community, affordability for people from all ranges of incomes, as well as we want people to stay in Arlington. So we
even senior citizens, right?
Senior citizens, that's right. We are very inclusive in Arlington. We're also looking at an urban agriculture initiative this year, where we have had a task force working for about a year now. And they're going to come back with some recommendations in March of this year, or a little bit later, if additional time is needed, in which we're looking to expand either community gardens, green roofs, or create more options for people to be able to exercise their agricultural skills. They may have maybe backyard sharing. We're looking eventually also to develop a Arlington-specific food plan, so that there's accessibility and affordability of food, because sometimes when they talk about farmers market or organic food, it might be expensive food actually, and may not be accessible to some people. So we want to look at some ways in which an entire community can have access to healthy food, because we are promoting a culture of fitness and we want folks to eat well, and also to develop maybe opportunities in their schools, or maybe in their place where they work, or maybe place of worship, where there may be a plot that they can be turned into cherry tomatoes, or some kind of fruit of some sort, depending on the season, so that we, in the end, it's again connecting to our sustainability. So it's the scoop of the sustainability.
Absolutely. Well, I think one of the things that we're both very passionate about is making sure that children eat healthy, nutritious food, and if they're growing that food, then certainly they're more likely to make good choices.
Absolutely. In fact, we launched this year in the Arlington Community Center in January our childhood obesity campaign, combating childhood obesity, a healthy eating healthy habits campaign. I'm calling it the Moving Forward Together campaign, in which we cannot take things for granted, and we also can't just wag our fingers at kids and say, don't do this, don't do that. Instead, we also need to lead by example, show them, absolutely, kids, pay attention to what kind of things that we do, that we eat. And so this is a comprehensive effort that we'll be working together with the schools, a number of nonprofits that are experts on the subject of healthy eating, and want to make sure, for instance, that our recreational centers, public facilities, we change the vending options that are there, and that we have some healthy options. So when the kids are there, they're not just looking for a soda, but there might be a healthy option as well. So we want to make sure to have those.
And I think that's really wonderful how you focused on parks and recreation as a setting to subtly suggest positive things. And I think that the county government's been very good about subtly suggesting. Jay Fazette with the water bottles and getting that out of the county government, and your work getting cigarette butts off of our community parks, which we're very grateful for. So I read an article today that, that Vincent Gray is considering getting rid of single-use styrofoam in Washington, D.C., and I was wondering who on the county board is going to take the leadership role in reducing styrofoam from our waste stream.
Yeah, sometimes we're envious sometimes of some of the authority that cities have, like New York City, for example, and other places where they're able to do more independent decisions, and we have to get General Assembly authority to be able to move and many of these things.
I did a little research. I did a little research on that, and I know one thing that could be done if there was the will was to eliminate that from county government. And like you said, leading by example, not purchasing those types of things, and getting vendors to make better choices. Do you think that that's a possibility?
Well, I think it's not off the realm of possibility in the future. I think that we start with different steps, like I think people thought that we would not be able to prohibit smoking in certain places, like restaurants and bars. We were able to succeed after a major effort. Believe me, we worked really hard with a lot of people and many organizations, the American Cancer Society and others. There are ways to go about it. We started out with a volunteer effort, an optional for people to say, Yvonne, can you, little by little, more restaurants join in? And we're doing that also in other angles in our parks, as you mentioned, telling people, not a great deal of smoke. So there are possibilities for down the line for styrofoams, I think, as we become more paperless, as we have trying to do that in county government. When we have our board meetings, we try to use less paper that we can. It's not always possible, but many times it is. So there's a possibility for down the line for styrofoams. We'll have to see.
Well, and that's wonderful to hear, because I know that you've made large steps.
I know it's a passion for you.
You've
been good at raising awareness about it. That's really good.
Thank you. I appreciate that. And I think that one of the things that I find probably the most important is that we reflect what we believe to our children, and in terms of things like recycling and being good stewards of the resources that we have. And you've got a lot of big decisions to make, things to do with the streetcar, things to do with affordable housing, how to manage density. So I just am very grateful that the work that you've done has taken sustainability under consideration.
Well, the subject of density, I used to be against it when I first got to the board, and I began to learn a little more about urban planning, and actually it can be used to our advantage and make sure that we have the community benefits, better streets, better sidewalks, new traffic signal, different things, art, sometimes affordable housing. So there are a number of good things that can happen out of density.
Well, I agree. We have to grow smartly, but we also have to grow, because Arlington County is a highly sought after location. So I thank you so much for being with us today, Mr. Todd. I hope you'll come back.
Sure. Thanks for inviting me. I
Wonderful.
look forward to being back another time.
Thank you. I'm Miriam Gennari. That's a Sustainable Scoop. Back to you in the studio, gentlemen.